Good morning. Thanks for coming. This is our very last in the series of 8 webinars that we've been hosting for all of you at UCSF. Thank you so much for Jill Wolters for helping us set all of this up. And thank you, all of you, for coming today. And I know that many of you have come to several of the webinars. Thank you again for that. Today's webinar is Reorganizing Your Navigation for Success with Jim Birch. Canopy, of course, designs, builds, and supports websites for clients that want to make a positive impact. Jim is our Drupal engineering manager who not only helps to lead our team of Drupal developers, but also helps Canopy clients turn business needs into manageable digital solutions and turning our great designs into reality. He also is an expert, I'm going to use that term loosely, but he's an expert on theremins. If you are ever interested in learning more about that strange and wonderful musical instrument, that's particularly perfect during Halloween. And he also has his own Lego that is affectionately known as Lego Jim. So from here, I'm gonna shut off my audio and video and let Jim take it away.
Thanks, Allison. Welcome to Reorganizing Your Navigation for Success. Allison just introduced me. If you want to email, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, you can find me all over the internet, and I like to answer questions. I actually just got an email this morning from somebody who saw one of my presentations 3 years ago and was asking me a question about it. So I think that's really cool. I'm currently working on 3 UCSF projects, and I hear a 4th one is coming down the line. I haven't launched any yet, so I'm really excited to work on these and present to you today. Like Allison said, this is the last of the summer series, sadly. We updated the link here. Allison's put all of the previous presentations together in the page on our site. You can check those out as you wish. Today, we're going to talk about, with the realm of navigation, first, we want to define success. We're going to go next to the user journey, what language and words to use, how search engine follow navigation hints, and then I'm going to review some best practices on just some of the UCSF sites that I found and really like. And then we can open up to QA. I really love this quote from UXD World. Every click or interaction should take the user closer to their goal while eliminating as much of the non-destination as possible. I like this because when I first started using the web and working on the web, we tried to fit every single link on to every single page and make sure that the user was only 1 click away from where they needed to go. These days, it's a much simpler, refined, guided user journey. And taking people deeper and deeper into your sites with successive clicks is by far the norm these days. So let's talk about what success is, since that was the title of the webinar. So to define success, we need to get some baseline metrics to measure against. We use a couple tools to do this. Heat mapping, analytics, and then we'll talk about search engine result pages and getting breadcrumbs on them. Just the fact of attaining them would be the metric to judge against. So for heat mapping, we use a service called Hotjar. There are a bunch of other ones, but this helps you see where users are clicking and kind of even more importantly, where they aren't clicking. So this is a great way to review design, calls to action, having too much cruft, too many things around your navigation. And this is great to set a baseline before any redesign, and then you can compare and contrast. You can also do this with A/B testing to see what styles and what interactions people click on or don't click on. Next up after that is analytics. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with analytics, but with this realm, we can set up events. So I like to set up events to record actions like clicks or hovers. You can do that to track menu links, outbound links, downloads, phone calls, you know, any calls to action, basically. If you do track menu links, menu link events can reveal what menu items don't get clicked on, which is another way to simplify your navigation. Also in analytics, you can set up goals to ultimately get to what the user wants or get to what your site's business logic wants. You know, fill out a form, purchase something, RSVP to an event. And then the final thing is tracking your site search. So you can see what users are searching for, what terms they use, and this can help you deduce if your navigation's not right, or if people just are searchers, or what words they're using to search for on your site. With the search engine result pages breadcrumbs, Google will give you additional real estate and define what the structure of your site to potential clickers. I used this example from Amazon and from Home Depot, how they put their navigation right there in the search engine results. Gives you more real estate, gives you more clicks, and can help you get the clicks from search. So now that we have our baseline set, we want to know who is navigating. So looking at the content and looking at the user journey to help define success is important to make sure that your idea of success is the same as your users. Understanding the who, what, when, where, and why is going to help you create the right content, create the navigation, and ultimately have happy users. To do this, you can get back into analytics. So you can filter your analytics data based on location, browser, and like what device they're using. One thing we see a lot is mobile users, for example, maybe looking for the Department of Urology, their address, not necessarily research, where that's where desktop users may go. So you can restructure your mobile navigation a little differently than your desktop navigation. With heat maps, you can combine heat map data with other tools like on-page surveys, A/B testing I mentioned. You can record the sessions and combine them with analytics data to provide additional feedback. So you've probably seen little pop-ups on the side of our websites that we build saying, what'd you come here today to do? Or did you find what you were looking for? This can be really good feedback for anybody that is going to take the time to answer you. And then finally, for those of us who have been in the web development world for a while, we used to do user testing in conference rooms with Post-it notes and index cards and whiteboards where we could write on. There are online tools that you can still do tree testing or card sorting. Optimal Workshop is a platform that you can basically set up experiments with your wireframes or just with the idea of what your menu structure to be, and then you can invite users to go in and basically take the test, you know, give them an example question that you want them to navigate to, and then see if they navigate there or they go down a different tree altogether. Okay. And lastly, for the user testing, this quote, "Don't seek praise, seek criticism." Oftentimes, you know, when people tell you what they don't like, you're going to get a lot more feedback from that a lot more useful information to act on than if somebody just tells you everything is great. Okay, and if you've ever worked with me before, you know I love the word nomenclature, basically the act of devising or choosing names for things. And this is really important to talk to your users. Like, does somebody who take a train or a bus, are they a customer or a passenger? One thing that's always bugged me was, do I want a consumer credit card? Am I just a consumer? Or, you know, do I want an Advantage credit card? To me, that sounds so much nicer. There's even an old developer joke that there's two hard things in computer science: cache invalidation, naming things, and off by one errors. Sorry, it's a very, very bad developer joke. But naming things has always been one of the hardest things in computer science and marketing together. Okay, so 3 tips for effective naming. You need to summarize. Long titles to remain on topic. They don't fit on mobile devices. They take up a lot of real estate. You know, they overpower their sibling menu items or children menu items. You want to remove articles, not the content, but the grammatical articles such as the, a, and don't take our word for it. You want to test with your audience, do the A/B testing, and you know, see what users click on the most. So for SEO, there are a bunch of things to help Google and the users of Google navigate your website. So the first thing is the URL path. Whatever your main menu structure is, you want to have the URL path follow that structure down the page line. So basically, if you have an about and then a team page, you know, the URL is going to be /about/team. The breadcrumbs need to accurately reflect that navigation structure. So that creates additional clarity. They can click back up the tree, and that should follow the URL path. Both XML and crawlable HTML sitemaps should be included to help search engines crawl your site. So you can submit your XML sitemap that has your navigation structure in it to Google and Bing. But you also want to have an HTML sitemap, usually linked to from the footer, that you can have accessible to crawlers. And it's even good for users who want to just click on that and see the overall structure, usually just in a indented list format rather than a fancy navigation. And it needs to be fast and crawlable. The navigation needs to work for mobile users, and it needs to work with users that don't have JavaScript, which a lot of days it's like people on a train, people moving, people with slow internet connections. You know, JavaScript could not work for a second and your navigation could not render. You need to have a fallback that would render so people could get to where they want to go. So I believe this is the pathology website. Yep, there it is in the breadcrumb. I know where I am. I clicked on the top level training. Underneath that, a secondary link, the residency program, and then to a page inside of there. So this is pretty great that the main menu is displaying only 2 links. The top level training and then the residency program. But underneath the residency program, there are another dozen pages that aren't displayed in the main menu. And I'll show this later. They display it in a block on the residency program page. So you can have your main menu. You can give the site the structure with the breadcrumbs, the path, but you don't need to show all the links all the time. You can just show them when they're important to the user, which goes back to that original quote, you know, where we don't need to show everything. We just want to get them closer and closer and closer to the page. And here's what it looked like in Google. The breadcrumb markup is successful to get their URLs in Google, and you can see as you go down the list, you could drill into the site topic easily. Drupal can also be used to fake in the navigation. So you don't have to add every blog to your main menu. You can just set up a automated path that says, /blog is a page that lists all blog posts, and then /blog title is the blog titles that live under that page. So to wrap up, I wanted to point out some great tips here. The main UCSF page has a really nice navigation, very concise naming. There's good contrast in the foreground and the background colors for low vision users. There's good padding around each of the elements for fat fingers. The menu items open on click and not just on hover, which is good because there's no hover on tablets or mobile phones. The flyout has a close button. This menu does have the third level, and it's identified in there with the arrow going over. And I did like that they repeated the name menu item at the top of what gets flown out there to the right. And then external links are identified, so they know it's in the navigation of this site, but we are going to go to a new website to get off of there. Here's Pathology's third level page, or actually this is the second level page. And then that block of links for the third level is printed. And I really like this with detailed description to even help guide the user to really drill down to what they want. And that's what I wanted to top out. So this menu just has a drop down for each of the top level, and they use the down caret to identify that. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. So I actually have a question.
Okay.
Is there typically a limit on how many items you should have in a navigation? Is there an expected number, or does it depend?
It depends. It depends on the content of the site. It depends on the structure. It also depends on the content management system. Some CMSs, like WordPress in the past, has had problems with more than 100 menu items. It just kind of times out. It taxes the menu system. So you can have 1,000 menu items, but in one menu, but I wouldn't recommend displaying them all at the same time. You could go ahead and do your top level. We always like, the simpler the better, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After that, you may want to break it up into 2 menus. Like usually you see a Chrome menu up at the top, or they call it an eyebrow menu sometimes, and then break it up. I would suggest that drill down methodology where you can go to section pages and then have the additional links there.
Okay. Another question, and I know you'll like this one because you love schema, meta and schema. Is there any advantage to use schema.org attributes? And then also the same question about Facebook token metadata as well.
Sure. So I have given many presentations on this. The schema.org breadcrumb list and breadcrumb item is used to attain the Google breadcrumb list. So that's how you would attain it. Basically, it's just really simple schema you can put in there for your breadcrumbs, and that's how Google knows it's breadcrumbs. Else it would just be some divs on a page or some list items on a page. There are lots of schema.org attributes that Google uses. That is the only one that's purely for navigation. Everything else would be for other rich features in Google search. So the Facebook Open Graph metadata, also that is offsite. Basically, that makes your pages look pretty in other platforms, or lets you, I shouldn't say pretty, lets you control the look and feel of your pages in other platforms. So the Facebook Open Graph data is used by more sites than most. So Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn all use this. So you can define an image, you can define a title and a description. And that could be different from your on page. You know, for your on page, your regular description says, you know, this is a page about something. When you post it to Facebook, you could say, you won't believe what happens next, you know, or something more eye-grabbing to Facebook users. Same goes for Twitter cards, and that Twitter cards is actually Twitter and Slack use those the most.
All right,
Okay.
and then there is the question related to that. How about Open Graph about Twitter?
So Twitter card data, Twitter card meta tags, same thing. Twitter cards, for some reason Slack went with that instead of Open Graph, but yeah, you can define what content you see there.
Okay, and then the question here for accessibility, what's a good solution for the learn more, click here types of links?
So that is a really good question. Not that all of the other questions weren't really great, but the learn more should be, if it's in the design, it should be labeled using ARIA attributes. So you could say, this learn more is labeled by the title of that section. So like if we go back to that pathology card, it had title, description, and then a learn more link. We would say that title is the label for that learn more. The other option is to wrap the link around the whole card. So all of the content in that card would make up the link text. So, and learn more wouldn't be the only thing in there. You would have a descriptive attribute about the card, basically.
Okay. And then there was, I noticed a question I missed here. Can you mention more about some of the virtual card sorting tools? Are there any free ones? The only free one that I can think of is Trello. I'm wondering if you know of any others.
I don't. Optimal Workshop is kind of the pinnacle. It's also pretty expensive. Trello would be a really cool way to do it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I don't. I could do some research and get back to you if you could grab person's question.
And we still have a few more minutes if anyone else has some questions to throw in the chat or the Q&A. If not, we'll give you back some time on your Wednesday.
Oh, Instagram. And Baker.
She wants all the social.
Yeah, no, Instagram is pretty closed. The only, you're posting your content onto Instagram. I don't know of a way to interact with your website content there. They even stopped or made it even really hard for you to get your pictures out of Instagram using an API. I think you might only have to use a widget now, which is basically you giving them real estate on your website. So, but I'm a big fan.
All right. Well, then I think if there are no more questions, then that's it. If we can go to the next slide, please, just so we can close this out.
Yes.
Just a reminder that I have consolidated all of the summer series links on that URL right there, speaking of navigation. And Jim's items will be added certainly by the end of this week, but more likely by end of day tomorrow. His presentation and any resources will be linked there as well. And will be up in perpetuity. So if you want to go back and reference any of the resources, it's all there. Thank you all so much for coming. Thanks again to Jill Wolters for organizing. Also, I will be sending out a survey sometime next week just to get your feedback on how the series went. What were your favorite topics? What topics would you have liked to see? That sort of thing. So thank you all again. Really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.